These days, it seems like for a lot of Americans, our realities are shaped by the media that we consume. With an increasingly fragmented media landscape, we're more and more susceptible to misinformation. So what are we supposed to do? How do we sort out what's real and what's not in a post-truth world? And what's the role of journalists in this new reality? Welcome back to Participation Trophy, the do-gooder's guide to changing the world, a podcast where we talk to millennial-ish leaders to find out if participation trophies made our generation unstoppable. I'm your host, Topher Williams. Today, I'm joined by an award-winning political journalist who most recently anchored America Tonight on Scripps News, where she was also a national correspondent. Today, she co-hosts the popular podcast Grounded with former U.S. Senator Jon Tester. Please welcome Maritsa Georgiou. Welcome.
Hi, Topher. Good to be with you.
I'm so excited to have you here. You know, on this podcast, we don't have the opportunity to talk to a lot of journalists and people who are covering the news. And so I'm really excited for this slightly different perspective.
And I'm excited to be on here and called millennial-ish because I'm a geriatric millennial.
Hey, listen, geriatric or young, I don't know what the opposite of a geriatric millennial would be. A young millennial? A baby millennial?
A baby millennial? I don't know. Infant? I don't know.
I'm like kind of a younger millennial, I think, but no one has ever really put me into a category. So maybe by the end of this episode, we'll have figured that out.
Okay, we'll try. We'll try to do our best.
Okay, so let's just dive in here. What are you doing to change the world?
Well, for starters, I have an almost 14-year-old son. And so I try every single day to remember that my job is to raise a kid who's going to grow into a good adult. And we talk about kindness all the time and leading with kindness, and that the most important thing in the world to me is that he's kind and treats people well and treats others well and cares about other people, and everything else kind of follows after that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, you know, I've spent my entire adult life in the journalism world. And man, when I think about some of the stories that we've done and that we've accomplished and changes we've actually seen come to fruition, it's pretty remarkable. And journalists are the backbone of this country. And journalists are, you know, they're the fourth estate, right? I mean, journalists are such a catalyst for change and good change and shining light on things that have been kept secret. And so I've dedicated my life to that, to trying to help people. And every time anybody is called or asked me to do something, even if it was tiny, like if I have the time to do it or help them in some way, I always have. And most recently, you know, we launched this podcast in Substack with former Senator Tester. And it's called Grounded because, for lots of reasons. For one, we're both out of work, so we kind of were grounded, grounded in the negative sense. But also, it's so easy to feel out of control. And it's so easy to feel like you can't process everything and there's too much chaos. And how do we possibly take it all in? And so the goal of our podcast is really to understand things that are plaguing us and help us all stay grounded together, grounded in the community, grounded in information. And you know, we have a little bit of fun too. So that's what I would say.
I imagine with former Senator Tester, it's always a lot of fun. He's kind of famously a fun guy. What was it like did you just like call him up and say, hey, do you want to start a podcast? Like, what was that conversation like?
So I lost my job on November 15th, just shortly after he lost his election. And I had written him, you know, right after the election and said, hey, thanks for everything. You know, let's talk when the dust settles. And then I realized a few weeks later, like, he probably might not know that Scripps laid so many of us off. I'll just reach out. So I wrote him, and in my joking way, I said, hey, we're both out of a job, want to start a podcast, or do you need help on the farm? And he wrote back, both. And so I kind of thought he was joking. And then we talked a few more times. And then in January, I was in Greece, where my family lives, for one of my banner birthdays. And I was on my dad's couch and I got a call from a no caller ID number. I answered like that, hello, and he goes, "You're in effing Greece?" And I was so taken aback. I'm like, "Who's this?" Defensive. He's like, "It's John Tester. Are we doing a podcast or what?" And there we go. We literally launched this thing in about a week's time, but it's been an adventure.
Y'all are braver than me. It took me longer than a week to launch this podcast. And for the record, you can definitely swear on this podcast. Can't speak for Grounded. You'll have to go listen.
You can swear on Grounded.
You can definitely swear on Grounded. Okay,
oh, yeah. We have a few episodes that are like not okay for kids to be in the car.
So keep that in mind, listeners. Both of our podcasts you can swear on. So did you always know you wanted to be a journalist? Like, what sparked that interest for you when you were young?
Yeah. So my grandfather was a TV meteorologist, and he was actually the very first TV meteorologist in Missoula, Montana, at the station that I ended up starting at, which is now KECI, and back then it was KMSO. And so, I ended up growing up in Minneapolis because that's where he kind of ended his career, and he was on, KARE 11 there when he ended. And so I just kind of grew up being in his orbit and seeing all of the amazing opportunities he had, and being around just like characters, like legendary characters in journalism. And it was so fun and so important. And I was always taught the importance of journalism. And so then, when I was in high school and 9/11 happened, and I remember my mom just being glued to the TV for weeks. I mean, everybody was so desperate for information. This was not a time when you could just hop on Google and see the latest. Like, we were just watching live TV around the clock, waiting for information because it was just unbelievable. And I remember, we watched a lot of Peter Jennings at that time and Tom Brokaw. And I remember just realizing how important it was, their job was, and what an incredible responsibility they had to relay that information that everybody was so hungry for. And that kind of cemented it for me. I just knew this is what I wanted to do.
So in the past, you've said that you're an internal optimist, right? And I really identify with this because I always say that you can't be a do-gooder, you can't be a change maker if you don't think that the world can be a better place than it is today. Like, you just have to have an innate sense of optimism. But a lot of people in advocacy, I think, don't always share that level of optimism. A lot of people are really jaded. And I assume the same is true for journalists, right? You see a lot of you see a lot of atrocities. You see a lot of really nasty stuff. So I'm curious, as a fellow optimist, where do you think that comes from? Why are you an optimist, and why should people stay optimistic about the world?
Well, it's hard. It's hard to look at the world and see so many ugly things in the world. And if you start thinking about all of it in this big, massive scale, it's hard to see the path forward because it feels overwhelming. But I have seen results of optimism, like change and a positive path forward, and what happens when communities work together. And that is something I have covered a lot of terrible things, right? Avalanches, murders, forest fires, hurricanes, horrifying things. And the one thing that is absolutely universal on all of those stories is that no matter what event it is, no matter what tragedy it is, the community rallies. They rally, no matter where it is. So if I'm in Hawaii after the horrific Lahaina wildfires, that community is rallying. And yes, there is anger and turmoil, but there is a general consensus that people want to help and do what they can. And it's no different if you're in Idaho and 4 college students were murdered. And it's no different if you're in Florida and a hurricane just swept through. So that really is so incredible to see, just like this human spirit come alive of like empathy and what can we do and how can we help. So that is one thing. Second of all, I'm a Disney adult, And so, good or bad, somebody recently told me that's like my only red flag, and I'll take that. I think that's a badge of honor. But I just really, I really have hope. And I read something the other day. I think it was Heather Cox Richardson, but it said that, how do we know it's the end? And the answer is, well, in the end, good prevails. So if the good's not prevailing, it's not the end. And I love that mindset. I think that's a really positive way to think about life and think about things. And so, you just got to stay hopeful and remember good things happen every single day. And yes, bad things happen too, but we can't forget about the good things.
Good prevails in the end. So if good hasn't prevailed, it's not the end. That is a really good mindset. And I appreciate how being a Disney adult may help inform that. And I suppose I would agree that if that is your only red flag, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I have a lot of red flags for me. I have imposter syndrome for one, and so I would list way more red flags. But if that's how people see me, great. I'll take that. Like, I'm fine. I've been accused of being in a cult and all of these things because I'm a Disney adult, and I think the thing about being a Disney adult is I have so many amazing memories with my kid. Right? Because I had amazing memories with both of my parents who were divorced when I was really young at a Disney park. But second of all, when you are around other Disney people are generally in a good mood. Like, Disney people are special because they want to make dreams come true. There's a thing called pixie dusting. Like, they want to create magic in other people's lives. And that is like, you can't find that anywhere else.
That's true. I don't know any other group that's trying to do that. So what stereotypes do you want to set the record straight for today about Disney adults? What do the people need to know?
Well, I mean, there are varying degrees of Disney adults, right? So let's just start there. Like, when I go to a park, I wear Disney gear, or I Disney bound, which is like dressing up, like a low key dress up of a character, because you can't actually dress up like a character.
Right.
So I just like basically Disney bounded as Ursula recently. I wear purple leggings and the Ursula ears, and I wore like a big gold seashell on around my neck. So that was fun. But I have seen people go way more over the top. I know people with Disney tattoos. There is a lot. I don't wear Disney gear generally if I'm not at a Disney park. So I'm not like there are varying degrees. But second of all, it's not a cult. It's just people who have fun. There aren't any like actual cult behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, it almost reminds me of like drag, right? Like drag is similar, right? Like cosplay, Comic-Con, right? It's all kind of vibes are the same. Yeah,
you go and your whole primary objective is to have fun and feel joy. Like, sign me up. I am a big fan of joy.
Okay, well, I'm going to state now for the record that I want to go next time I go to Disney World or Disneyland, whichever one, I'm going with you. We're going to make it happen.
I will never turn down an invitation to go to a Disney park.
Maybe we'll do a live podcast from Disney World.
Yeah,
how fun would that be?
I'm in.
Okay, so I'm really thrilled to know about that. This is giving me a lot of ideas. And getting back to your journalism work, though, you have interviewed a lot of really iconic people. But back when you were just 23 years old, you interviewed both Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton in the same week. And can you tell us what that was like?
Oh, I was terrified. I mean, I was a baby, for one thing. And second of all, I mean, it was just a different time, right? And I remember hearing that I did the Hillary Clinton interview first, and I thought of Hillary as this, she was so intellectually intimidating to me, and I didn't even know like how I was going to formulate questions that were smart or coherent for her, because she's interviewed by the best in the world, and I was really intimidated, and she was just lovely. I mean, so kind. And I remember like she complimented my shoes right away, and that just put me at ease, and it was great. And then I found out, I think the next day, okay, Michelle Obama will be, I was in Kalispell at the time. She'll be in Kalispell and you'll interview her. You know, this was before Michelle Obama had her big like makeover before the DNC. And she really wasn't this like national figure that we know her as now. And I was like, yeah, great. Okay. You know, we went in and Obama and Hillary were competing for the Montana primary. I mean, all the primaries in the country, but you know, Montana was very much in play that year, which it's not always in a primary. And so they spent so much time here. I mean, the Obamas spent 4th of July in Butte, Montana that year. Butte, America, I should say. And so when I went in to meet Michelle, I just really didn't know what to expect. And oh my gosh, I just fell in love with her. She was so warm and I just wanted to spend all day with her. I think I had about 10 minutes and, you know, they were going to go up to Glacier and I asked if they had bear spray and she kind of looked at the security agent and he's like, oh, we got you.
He's like, we definitely have bear spray.
He's like, don't listen, lady, don't worry. The Obamas are not going to worry about a charging grizzly bear on my watch. But, you know, we just had like fun and she was everything you want her to be, you know, it was great. So that was just unbelievable. And it really like cemented the idea of, you know, our paths take us on our paths for a reason. And certainly I had people in my family saying like, you really going to start in Montana? Like, what about this or what about that? And it feels like you're like starting down here, but really it was just the best thing I could have done because I learned so much. And I got to do these really incredible things where if I were in a bigger market, I would have been at the bottom of the barrel. No chance at all that I would be chosen to go do those interviews. So it was great. It was wonderful. And they definitely stand out as, I mean, that was quite an exciting week.
Honestly, working in politics for my entire adult life, I had a really similar experience in Montana, right? Like being able to be a young person in Montana, if you're decently talented, there are many more opportunities for you in a place like that than there are in a big market. And I definitely experienced that. It's why it's called the Montana Mafia around like if you go to DC and you tell people in the capital that you're from Montana, they will say, oh, and so is like this really high ranking person. And so is this person. And there's the Montana Mafia is a real thing, which is part of why we've had
that.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe it's like a politics thing. I don't really know.
No, but I love it. It makes sense because we have so many very powerful people from or connected to Montana in the political scene, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Montanans are like low key running the world. And I don't know that most Americans know that. But if you didn't, now you do. And you can keep your eyes peeled for it. It's why we've had so many Montana guests on this podcast, right? I mean, the Montana Mafia is a real thing.
I love it.
So as a newly independent journalist, how has life been different for you than when you were working as part of, I guess, legacy media? I don't know if that's the right term, but how's life different independent?
Well, you know, like everything, there are pros and cons. For one thing, you know, we started this podcast in Substack and we're really trying to make it work in a way that, you know, we could actually pay some bills with it because it takes a lot of effort. And so when you are, you know, it's just me and John Tester, right? And we have some help from my neighbor who helps us with some audio, cleaning up at the end. But we're really driving the ship. Like, it's us. And so I feel that greatly. Like if we want to grow and we want to do these big things or whatever, I mean, I'm constantly thinking about it because our success and our failure is really in our hands. And so that is different. Like I can't just check out at the end of the night, like, well, my shift's done, because I got to keep thinking about how we're going to keep growing this and really taking a stab at this. And, you know, it allows me to definitely control what I want to talk about, right? Like I want to cover this, I want to cover that. Like we kind of guide it. It's really cool to have these long long form interviews where I don't have to fit into a time slot or, cut somebody off at 7 minutes. I used to do live interviews on my show every night, and my producers would always be like yelling at me in my ear, like, we have to go, quit asking questions. I'd be like, just one more. And then we'd, have to cut a bunch of stuff at the end of the show. And I would always get in trouble. But so many times, like, conversations are free flowing and they meander, and that's how it should be. And I just always feel like there's more to know, there's more to learn and more to ask. And so that I love that we can just kind of go forever. Although Senator Tester doesn't always love that I go forever either. And then, it is an adjustment. Like, for instance, when news happens, like this weekend with the horrific floods in Texas, it's hard for me not to be on alert and waiting like for a call. Because normally news like that would break and I'd start coordinating with, the team, like, well, what are we going to do? And who's going down? And should I get on a plane? And so that, that stuff is hard to adjust to also. And we're just at a really new time in journalism. And it's a scary time. And I don't know how it'll all shake out. I think, being the optimist that I am, we will come out on the other side. But I think we're in for some bumps, some really big bumps ahead. And the great thing is that we have platforms where we can just pivot and do this independent journalism thing. Terry Moran is a prime example. So many people switching over to Substack, Jim Acosta. And we're all kind of just trying to do this. And I think there will need to be some consolidation at some point, because we can't just all be subscribing to all of these independent journalists, forever and ever. But for right now, it's great to have that space to be able to continue to do the work that we all know how to do and that we're passionate about doing.
That's so interesting. I feel like I have not had the opportunity to really sit down and think about the shifting landscape in journalism the same way as I have other things, because journalism is not what I do. But I feel like this isn't unique to journalism, right? I mean, I have worked in campaigns and I have worked at big consulting firms and such in politics. And now I have my own firm and I do my own work in this space, because it's become harder and harder to maintain a career working at a large entity or working for a big consulting firm or working even for a member long term, right? I feel like everybody kind of eventually in my space ends up being independent, but it's interesting to see how that has manifested it across industries.
It's not unique to journalism, but I think what's unique is that we're seeing just this broad attack on journalism as a whole right now. And we've seen it escalate, right? This has been a growing trend. This isn't like overnight new, but the amount of people I'm seeing leave legacy media, walking away from contracts or getting fired or getting laid off. We had hundreds of layoffs at my company, and up until that point, I had never been through something like that. And so then when we started to see all of the layoffs across the federal government, and I thought about it so much, like it's such a hard psychological thing to go through. And I never thought about it before, but our layoffs were announced and we had to work for a couple more months after that. And I described it as like working through our own funeral. And we knew it was coming. And then I think about the federal employees who maybe some of them didn't know it was coming, but they're terrorized or they're worried every Friday night. Like, are they going to be next? Are they going to get the email? And it's so awful. And, it's not just you either. It's everybody who you've worked around, some people for decades. And you know their families and you're worried about their kids and you're worried about what they're going to do and you're worried about yourself. And you start to think, like, what's going to be next? I've given my whole life to this, and where are we all going to go? And it's a really hard thing to go through. So my heart goes out to everybody who's been affected by these massive cuts across all industries. It's something that is very psychologically challenging.
It seems too like every day it's harder and harder for consumers to tell the difference between real news and between disinformation. And I suppose sort of the fracturing of legacy media is making that even harder. What advice do you have for Americans to be able to navigate a world that feels really saturated with disinformation when I think most of us are really just looking for the truth?
Yeah, and let's not forget that that's an intentional game plan, right? Like to confuse people, to call things fake news. Like that is part of the plan in some ways. And then there are people too, like your, crazy uncle or crazy aunt who's also sharing things who they think, they don't even know it's not true and they're just sharing it because it sounds good. I think we've all been guilty of that. You share something. I've seen a lot of my friends on both sides of the aisle share things that are just patently not true, but they have no reason to believe it's not. And then we have, bad actors putting up websites that look very much like a real news organization. And you start to research it and it's just not. And so it is hard. It is hard. And we see conflicting information all the time. And again, part of that is intentional. And like we heard Steve Bannon talk about this flood the zone strategy. And this is like to just throw so much at the American public and journalists alike that they can't possibly keep up. And so I think what we're seeing is legacy journalists like also having trouble keeping up. I mean, I have never talked to anybody else in this field who says, oh yeah, it's great. I can stay on top of everything and have dinner and it's just fine. Like there's just no way to stay on top of all this stuff. And so then what happens is, we're churning and burning and trying to get content out and maybe it doesn't match up to this other outlet. And maybe then you start to wonder, like, what, did I get this wrong or did I get that wrong? And it's really hard. What I would say is diversify where you are reading your news. Do not just get your news from one outlet. I mean, when I write we do headlines at the start of every Grounded episode. And so when I am gathering for those headlines, I'm usually reading about 5 different articles to like see what is consistent. And I'm fact checking everything that I'm writing because that's what you have to do. And so most of the time, like it's pretty uniform, but there will be some times, right, where there's conflicting information. And then you have, actual government agencies right now putting out statements that I've never seen put out before. Like I just saw this thing with Social Security Administration praising the passage of the big, beautiful bill and how good it's going to be. And that is something that, I think that that's not what everybody would agree with. And so it's just kind of an interesting stance. We're just at an interesting time. But I think the best thing you can do is to fact check, diversify where you get your information. And here's the key. Don't ever be so stubborn that you can't be wrong, right? Mm. If you misunderstand something or you read something or this article was wrong and you quoted it, like we all have to own up. We all have to own up. Hey, I said this. That was not true. I apologize. Like it's confusing out there and I will do better. Like news people, humans, neighbors, friends, like we all need to do better at saying like, oh yeah, we got that wrong. We got that wrong.
That's some good advice for folks listening. I really appreciate that. I'm curious, is there something that journalists should be doing or shifting the way in which they work to be able to help counter this? I mean, if journalists are supposed to be the arbiters of truth, what does journalism look like from 2025 onward in doing that?
Well, again, it's really hard when you are reporting something with facts and maybe an elected official doesn't like it and they can just say, well, that's fake news or that's not true or, call you a liar. it doesn't give people a lot of confidence. And we are just seeing that rise and rise and rise, or just politicians just flat out not engaging in interviews, right? Or not having town halls. So that makes it really, really challenging. We floated this idea. We had Katie Fang on our show. She used to have a show on MSNBC, brilliant legal mind, hilarious. That is one of the episodes that has a high concentration of curse words, so watch out. But we talked about this idea, Senator Slotkin pitched this idea of like a shadow cabinet like the UK does, where, the Democrats get together all of these people who kind of, they have like a shadow interior secretary, which somebody floated John Tester for, and they focus on like issues happening within the Interior Department and decisions coming out and like how to fight those. And so everybody kind of has their zone and their role. And we kind of talked about that with like independent journalists. Like maybe we should all be teaming up and focusing on these like beats basically, so that we know that we're getting it all, because we're all trying to cover everything and we just can't. And traditional news outlets do have beats, but as we see people get laid off and, the workforce thinning, it's going to be hard. It's going to be harder. But we have to keep asking questions. We have to keep digging into stuff. We can't just stop because it feels overwhelming. You just got to like compartmentalize. As my favorite, one of my favorite Disney songs says, you have to do the next right thing and figure out what's next.
Well, thank you for bringing us back to Disney, because I think we're going to have some fun here. Okay. We have a little segment on this podcast, this little rapid fire, this or that, just to keep the mood light. And as a Disney adult, we're going to ask you some rapid fire, this or that questions about Disney. Are you ready to play?
I'm ready.
Okay. First question, animated or live feature?
Animated.
Lion King or Aladdin?
Aladdin.
Aladdin. Why Aladdin?
I love it. I love Princess Jasmine. I love the magic carpet. I don't know. It's just, I like the beautiful gem tones and the Cave of Wonder. I mean, it's just all great. It's great.
Yeah. And I definitely had a crush on Aladdin when I was little. Let's just be honest.
Well, yeah. Who did it? Who did it?
Who didn't? Let's be real. If you didn't have a crush on Aladdin as a kid, I want to hear from you in the comments. Okay, please tell us. Because you're going to be the next guest on this podcast. Space Mountain or Splash Mountain?
Oh, well, it's not Splash Mountain anymore. It's called Tiana's Bayou. But I would say Space Mountain. Okay,
Magic Kingdom or Epcot?
Epcot.
Why Epcot?
Well, for one thing, they have the World Showcase, so you can go to all these countries and you feel like you're walking around the world. It's incredible. And they have the best ride I've ever been on in my life at Epcot, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. It is epic. It is so fun. I love it.
Is that newer?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, I've been to Epcot.
And you can drink around the world at Epcot.
I mean, that's definitely a plus.
Yeah.
Fireworks or parade?
Firework. Well, it depends what parade. Like there's the Paint the Night parade. More. There's the Paint the Night parade, and they used to have the Main Street Electrical parade, and so those are at night, and they light up, and they're so interactive and beautiful colors, and they're so special. But like the fireworks shows are always special. So I'll say I'll say Paint the Night parade, because it's better for animals who are afraid of fireworks and the environment.
Okay. Princess or villain?
Oh, well, I would have said princess before, but I think I'm in my sea hag era, so I will say villain.
I'm with you. I'm all about the Disney villain. So many Disney villains are so queer coded, and I've had this conversation with straight friends before, and they have not ever picked it. But think Jafar is a gay man. Ursula is a lesbian, right? Like Scar is gay. Like all of the, yes. Are you catching this just now too?
I'm just thinking about it. Like I would disagree with you on a little bit of it, but yeah, I totally see where you're going on some of it. Absolutely.
Now, whether or not that's problematic, because you have all of these villains with quote unquote children's movies.
Why is that
sort of being, well, because if the only the queer coded representation are bad guys, right? It sort of casts queerness as evil. But as me and many other queer people, we all talk a lot about how we were very inspired by the fabulousness of many of these Disney villains and their very queer coded nature.
Are fabulous. Like, they all are in some way. And I can't tell you my favorite villain because I love the evil queen, Maleficent, and Ursula equally. Right. I love them all. And
like, you can't tell me that Cruella was not fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
With the coats, I mean, come on.
I mean, like, again, I'm an animal lover, so
sure.
I do take issue with some of her decisions, but she was like an icon. And actually, on that one, the live action Cruella is fantastic.
With Glenn Close.
Oh, I loved it.
Amazing, amazing,
no,
still good.
Sorry, let's clear this up.
Okay.
Played Cruella in a live action 101 Dalmatians.
Yes,
but the live action recent Cruella is actually played by Emma Stone.
Yes, I saw that one too.
Is it Emma Thompson? Yeah, Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's like her origin story.
It's her origin, yeah, and that's really like good. I love the Maleficent origin story. Like, you get compassion, and it really is a good reminder too. This is one of the other things that helps me stay hopeful. I am convinced, like, the bad people in this world are bad because of unresolved childhood trauma. And you see it with the Disney villains and their origin stories. And I really think a lot of our leaders could benefit from some really intense counseling to work through some of their feelings and some of that trauma.
So maybe some of our leaders in Congress should take some of their government health care and enroll in therapy. That is the takeaway from today.
I think
okay,
so.
Last this or that, though, for you. Love song or empowerment anthem?
Empowerment anthem all the way. In fact, I have quite a few favorites. And if you need to, like, feel good about yourself and empowered, there are so many Disney choices. People think about, like, Let It Go, and that's a good one. But I would go to Frozen 2, and there is a song called Show Yourself. And it's all about, like, the person you've been waiting for, the what you've been waiting for to, like, feel like yourself in your own skin, and turns out it's you.
Amazing.
He's the one she's been waiting for. I love that.
We've officially reached the most important question of this podcast, which is, did you receive a participation trophy, and what was it for?
The answer is yes. I have one for T-ball. I also have, I brought them.
Okay, so if you're not watching this on YouTube, get on YouTube and you can go see the participation trophies live.
This is a spelling bee trophy from the Metro Minneapolis Region Semifinal Spelling Bee, where I did not participate, but I participated. But just because, you know, I have to show this baby off. This is my second place trophy for the St. Louis Park Spelling Bee of 1997.
So an actual winning trophy, not just a participation one.
No, but I have plenty of participation trophies. I did all the sports. I did T-ball and ice skating and, you know, everything you do when you're a kid growing up in suburban Minneapolis.
I'm so glad that you brought I think you're the first person to actually bring participation trophies with you, which is really exciting. With the exception of episode 3. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to episode 3. The ladies from Elevate Utah, one of them, their staff actually gave them all participation trophies as a gift. And for one of them, it was the first participation trophy they ever got. So other than that, though, this is the first time we have had participation trophies live.
Yay!
All right. So as we wrap up today, can you please let the listeners know where they can find you online to keep the conversation going?
Oh, yes. So you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts and wherever you listen to this wonderful podcast. We also have a Substack page where you can go and you can be a free or paid subscriber. Although if you're a paid subscriber, you're allowed to do some extra things like comment and have back and forth with us. And on Substack, we post video episodes of all of our shows. We also do some live shows. And let me tell you, the tractor content, I don't know if you knew that you needed tractor content in your life, but there is some high quality tractor content on our Substack where former Senator John Tester literally takes videos of himself in the tractor and talks about what's on his mind. usually somehow related to farming and politics. But they're hilarious. He's a hoot. You will love them.
Thank you so much, Maritsa, for joining us today. I'm so glad that you're here. Thanks for coming on the pod, and I can't wait to have you back.
Thanks for having me anytime.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Participation Trophy. I'm your host, Topher Williams. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Participation Trophy Podcast, and follow me on Instagram at @TophMcGof so you don't miss one single thing. Until next time, remember, it's up to us to make the world that we want to see. Bye.